parliamentary committee to take it there. And government needs to bring that legislation to change and retask them to do this. They were happy with my suggestion. And they thought it was a good idea.
Many great ideas tend to get overlooked. Because I say this in light of Dr. Thomas Wangi, who I had from National Research Institute, who critiqued, we're coming back to the inflation issue here, who critiqued the IMF loan that we took last year, saying that we shouldn't take that loan. It will drive up inflation through imported inflation. Sure enough, it happened. Yeah. He released another report media this year, talking about now the imported inflation that we currently incur. And the onus now, I think the restrictions that the IMF had placed, according to the report that he wrote, the restrictions that the IMF had placed on the PNG government was that the PNG government could not keep using loans to prop up the foreign exchange, which they've been doing for a while now. Mm-hmm. Everything had to start relying on their exports. Hence, we've seen the mad dash in trying to get certain mines off the ground quickly, as much as possible. The creation of our agriculture departments, coffee, cocoa, and...
Well, here's a funny thing. Here's a funny thing. If we did not renegotiate Papua LNG, if we did not renegotiate that, Papua LNG would have started production this year.
Really?
Yes. Because had this government not decided to renegotiate everything, just like they did with Pogra, just like they did with Papua LNG, just like they're doing with Wafi-Golpu, if they didn't do any of that, Papua LNG would have started, Papua LNG would have been in production now, okay? And that would have flushed a whole bunch of money into the economy. You look at Pogra. By shutting down Pogra, we removed almost 6 billion or 7 billion US dollars from our economy by shutting that down. So you now have a forex problem. Well, part of the reason is that you shut down Pogra. So you basically, there would have been about, I think 7 or 8 billion dollars coming in from Pogra, but we closed it. Now you have startup costs and everything else, and Papua New Guinea will not get any dividends from it for 10 years. You see, that was a dumb decision. Come back, Papua LNG. That deal was done. Charles Abel was the treasurer. He led the negotiations and everything else. Mm-hmm. Governor Heveta was on the committee. Everything, they just had to sign off. They didn't. Now Papua LNG is going to start in 2032.
2032?
We've pushed it out. Because, they've got issues now. But they were ready to go. That would have fixed our economic problems, fixed our FX problems. They wouldn't need to borrow all that money. You see, they made a bad decision, so they had to borrow all that money to cover up the bad decision.
My goodness.
And who's going to pay for it?
We are.
Taxpayers are going to pay for it.
All of us.
All of us are going to pay for it, you see. It was a bad decision. I was one of those that argued against it. And people were like, you Pasimos. I argued against and when it came to voting on the floor of parliament, we were told in caucus, if you don't support it, don't vote against it on the floor. You abstain. So I abstained from voting on Pogra and from Papua LNG. I abstained. But they went ahead with it, you see. So online we're supporting this player. They should bear a lot of the responsibility for the problems that we are facing now. These are all man-made. These were all made by the government. It wasn't an accident.
By this current government.
By this current government.
So much for the small-term pain for long-term gain.
This is long-term pain for, I don't know when the gain is going to come. But my prediction is that if you're going to see any turnaround in the economy, probably if Wafi-Golpu starts, that will ease some of the pain, particularly on the FX side. And that should also improve our foreign exchange. So that might help the cost of kina, like improving. Because when Wafi-Golpu comes in and they start doing things in Morobe, they're going to bring in US dollars because they need kina.
Yep.
So they're going to buy up all the kina that's in the system. And by buying up the kina, they're going to drive up the kina value, you see. That's what we need. It's just a demand-supply thing. Right now, there's no demand for kina. The only people that want kina is the government.
Yep.
So they're printing it. They're printing more money. That's what we're doing. So when money supply increases, of course, its value comes down.
Yep.
That's what we're facing right now.
As far as agriculture goes, Governor, as you being in one of the key agriculture provinces with many of the initiatives that you've undertaken, how does agriculture play a role in trying to address this deficit that we're currently experiencing? What needs to be done?
You need to increase production. That's what you need. You need more production of coffee, more production of oil palm, more production of cocoa, more production of coconuts, and you need to ship them out. You see, the Somalia government, when NA was in charge, they had what they call an export-driven recovery strategy, which they implemented. And that export-driven recovery strategy, it started to kick in long before the LNG came in, you see. They were pushing exports, boosting exports, you see. If you look at exports in the last 10 years, they've actually gone stagnant. Coffee production is stagnant. Cocoa production is slightly high. Palm oil is kind of stagnant. So a lot of our agricultural production is actually stagnant. It's not increasing. So again, if you increase your output, it comes back to inefficiency, all of the efficiencies and all of those sorts of things, increasing your productivity, increasing your output. When that happens, you'll see the difference. Kina will become stronger. Why? Because they're paying in US dollars. And then you got US dollars chasing Kina. So what that does is it starts to take Kina out of circulation, you see. And then you're going to see some of these improvements. So these are very basic economic and business principles. They're not like complicated. It's not like rocket science or anything. It's quite simple.
So from your perspective, from what you've been witnessing, say for the last 5 years, what's been the holdup in increasing our agriculture exports?
One of the things you'll find, and this is where like even the World Bank, I think World Bank or IMF, they wrote a critique for the PNG government, I think 2 years ago, where they said this. They said, Papua New Guinea needs to invest in its productive capacity. All the money we're borrowing, we're just borrowing it to fund consumption. So we're borrowing money and we're not putting it into anything tangible, you see. So it's not giving you a return. We're building a road to nowhere. We pay 400 million kina to build a road, seal it in the middle of nowhere, and there's no economic return for that road, you see. Now, if you do that enough times, if you do it one-off, it's okay. But if you do it consistently, that's when you end up with a graph like this. This is consistently investing in the wrong things. You get graphs like that. So the productive capacity in agriculture has not been improved, you see. Again, our output in mining, oil and gas hasn't really improved because we're plateauing. A lot of this is becoming, and it's being reflected in the economy. At the same time, we are producing babies faster than the economy is able to sustain it.
Yep.
And so that's creating another problem because whatever goods and services are produced in a country, it has to be divided equally amongst all of us so we can all kind of participate based on the constitution. There's an equality concept there. Now, if our population keeps increasing and the real economic growth doesn't keep pace with it, then what happens is that availability becomes less. So, you're struggling with medicines at your clinics and hospitals and things like that. These are the real impacts of,